I used to believe I was living the kind of life people envied. A loving husband, a cozy home, and a best friend who felt like family. Mark and I had been married for 8 years, 8 beautiful, golden years, or so I thought. He was charming, smart, and funny in that way that made everyone at a party turn toward him. And I was the quiet one, the listener, the caretaker, the one who made sure everyone had a drink and felt at home. Clara, my best friend since college, was always around. She had this wild spirit I admired, always laughing, always glowing. She and Mark got along from the start, maybe too well, but I never thought much of it. Why would I? She was my confidante, my sister in every way that mattered. She had comforted me when Mark and I lost our baby 2 years ago. She cried with me, stayed the night when I couldn't sleep, and even cooked for us when I couldn't get out of bed. I thought that was love, the kind that extends beyond friendship. But life has a way of hiding knives behind the people who hug you the tightest. It started small, a change so subtle I almost missed it. Mark began working late. At first, it was deadlines and client dinners. Then came the mysterious text messages, the muted phone, the half-hearted explanations. I told myself I was overthinking. After all, Mark was loyal. He had stood by me through grief. He would never, one evening, as I folded laundry, Mark's phone buzzed on the counter. Normally, I'd never touch it, but that day, something inside me urged me to look. Maybe it was fate, maybe instinct, or maybe the quiet scream of a heart that already knew the truth. The message was short, just one line, "Can't wait to see you again. Same place, same time, read, C." My breath caught in my throat. "See, Clara," but no, it couldn't be. She had told me she was going on a work retreat that same weekend. My hands trembled so hard I dropped the phone. My chest burned and I tried to reason with myself. Maybe it wasn't her. Maybe C was a client, a coworker, anything but her. When Mark came home that night, I stared at him like he was a stranger. He kissed my forehead, his cologne filling the room, but this time it wasn't the one I'd bought him. It was softer, floral, a scent I recognized from countless nights when Clara hugged me goodbye. "Everything okay, Lena?" he asked, brushing a strand of hair from my face. I forced a smile. "Yeah, just tired." That night, when he fell asleep beside me, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The rhythm of his breathing, once so comforting, now sounded like a lie. I thought of Clara's laugh, of how often she complimented Mark, how their eyes sometimes lingered too long on each other. All the moments I had brushed off, as harmless, suddenly stitched themselves into one horrifying truth. The next morning, I looked at my reflection, pale skin, tired eyes, trembling lips, and whispered, "No, I'm not ready to believe this." But deep down, I already did. I tried to act normal over the next few days, but the silence between Mark and me grew heavier. He smiled less. I smiled even less, and Clara, sweet, cheerful Clara, called less often. When she did, her voice was nervous, distracted. She said she was busy with work, but I knew that tone. It was the sound of someone lying through their teeth. Then, one afternoon, I saw them. I was driving back from the grocery store when I noticed Mark's car parked outside a small cafe. It was the kind of place we used to go to, hidden, cozy, private. I don't know what possessed me to stop. My heart raced as I peeked through the glass window, and there they were sitting across from each other, hands touching across the table, smiles too intimate for friends. My chest tightened. The air left my lungs. I stood frozen as tears blurred my vision. I wanted to storm in, scream, throw everything away in one loud, painful explosion. But I didn't. I turned and walked away, clutching my grocery bag like it could somehow hold me together. That night, I didn't say a word. Mark came home smelling faintly of lavender and guilt. I simply watched him move around the house, this man I once thought was my safe place. And in that moment, I realized something heartbreaking. My life wasn't perfect. It never had been. I had just been too blinded by love to see the cracks forming underneath. Little did I know that discovery was just the beginning. The betrayal would break me, but it would also lead me towards something I never expected, a chance to be reborn. The morning after I saw them together felt unreal. I woke up hoping it was a nightmare, but the ache in my chest reminded me it wasn't. Mark hummed in the kitchen, making coffee like every other day, while I sat in silence, my spoon untouched in my cereal bowl. I wanted to scream to ask him how he could, but my throat closed every time I looked at him. Finally, I gathered the courage. "Mark," I said, my voice shaking, "how long has it been?" He froze. "What do you mean, you and Clara?" I whispered. "How long?" The color drained from his face, and in that instant, the last thread of doubt snapped. He didn't deny it. He didn't even try. He just sighed and ran a hand through his hair. "Lena, I didn't mean for you to find out like this." My stomach turned. "So it's true." He nodded, eyes cold and distant. "It just happened. Clara understands me in ways you don't anymore. You've changed, Lena. You're always quiet, withdrawn." His words cut deeper than I expected. After everything I had endured, the sleepless nights, the miscarriage, holding our life together, I had changed. I laughed bitterly, tears burning my eyes. "You mean I stopped being the woman who lived to please you?" He said nothing. Silence spoke louder than lies ever could. Later that day, Clara showed up. She didn't even look guilty, just nervous. "Lena, please listen. I never meant to hurt you. It just happened." Those words again. I wanted to slap her, but instead I whispered, "You were my sister." She looked down. "Mark and I love each other. You'll understand someday. Understand, the betrayal wasn't just an affair. It was the death of every memory I held dear." My home turned into a stranger's house. My laughter turned into echoes of a woman I used to be. Within a week, Mark packed his things. He emptied our joint bank account to start fresh, leaving me with nothing but unpaid bills and heartbreak. I wandered through the empty rooms, feeling like a ghost. Nights stretched endlessly. Sleep refused to come. One evening, while sorting through old boxes, I found a sealed envelope in my grandmother's handwriting. My hands trembled as I opened it. "My dearest Lena, if life ever breaks you, use this to start anew. Never let pain destroy your kindness." Inside was a key and a bank statement, a hidden savings account worth $70,000. I sank to the floor, sobbing, "But it is always necessary, but from change gratitude." That night, I whispered into the darkness, "Thank you, Grandma. Maybe, just maybe, this wasn't the end of me, it was the beginning." The next morning, I woke up to sunlight instead of shadows. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel crushed beneath the weight of betrayal. My grandmother's letter sat on the table, a silent promise of new beginnings. $70,000, not just money, but a lifeline, a chance to rebuild. I packed my bags, left the house that once felt like a dream turned nightmare, and drove until the city skyline disappeared behind me. I didn't have a destination in mind, only a need to breathe again. Hours later, I stopped in a quiet little town with cobblestone streets and flower boxes in every window. Something about it whispered, "Start here." I rented a small apartment above an old bakery and began to dream again. My grandmother had always loved flowers, she used to tell me. When life buries you in dirt, bloom anyway. So I decided to open a flower boutique. I called it Bloom Again. The first few weeks were hard. I painted the walls myself, arranged vases, designed the logo, and worked late into the night. Every petal I touched felt like healing, every bouquet like a step toward freedom. Slowly, people began to notice. A woman came in one morning for a wedding bouquet, and by evening, she brought 2 more customers. Within months, my little shop became the heart of the town. I learned to smile again, genuinely this time. My hands smelled of roses instead of tears. And one day, a local magazine featured my story under the headline, "From Heartbreak to Bloom, the woman who turned pain into beauty." The feature changed everything. Customers poured in, and so did messages from women who said my story gave them hope. For the first time, my pain had a purpose. Then one afternoon, as I was arranging lilies, my phone buzzed. The name on the screen froze me. "Mark?" "Curiosity One," I answered. "Lena." His voice trembled. "I made a mistake. Clara's gone. She took my savings. My business failed. I don't even have a place to stay." For a moment, the old ache returned, but it faded quickly. I looked around my shop, the colors, the life, the scent of fresh blooms, and realized I no longer belonged to that world of pain. "I'm sorry, Mark," I said softly, "but we both made choices. Yours broke me, mine built me." He begged, but I ended the call, a calm smile on my face. As I locked the shop that night, the wind carried the scent of roses through the door. I whispered to the stars, "Grandma, I'm blooming again." A year later, my life felt like it belonged to someone new. The old Lena, fragile, trusting, naive, was gone. In her place stood a woman who had learned to rise from ashes and wear her scars like medals. Bloom Again had expanded into 2 more locations, and I now employed 5 women, all rebuilding their own lives after betrayal or loss. We had become a sisterhood of survivors. One morning, I received an invitation to a local business expo. My flower shop had been nominated for Entrepreneur of the Year. I smiled at the irony once. I couldn't even pay rent. Now, I was being honored for success born from heartbreak. The event was grand, filled with lights, laughter, and proud faces. I was arranging flowers near the stage when I heard a voice that made my blood run cold. "Lena," I turned, and there he was, Mark. He looked nothing like the man I once loved. The confidence was gone, replaced by exhaustion. His clothes were wrinkled, his eyes dull, his smile forced. "Mark," I said quietly, my tone calm but distant. He took a hesitant step forward. "I saw your name in the program. I had to see you. You look amazing." I nodded politely. "Thank you. You looked different." He chuckled awkwardly. "Yeah, life's been rough. Clara left, took everything. I wanted to say I'm sorry for everything." For a long moment, I just looked at him. The man who once tore my world apart, now standing small, broken, and lost. I thought I would feel anger or satisfaction, but instead I felt peace. "You know, Mark," I said softly, "there was a time I thought I couldn't live without you, but your betrayal gave me a gift, a chance to find me." He looked confused, almost desperate. "Can we start over? Maybe have dinner, just talk?" I smiled, the kind of smile that ends chapters. "No, Mark, you already had your chance, and losing me was your lesson." As I walked toward the stage to accept my award, I heard my name announced, followed by applause. I turned briefly and saw him watching, eyes full of regret. But I no longer needed his approval. My strength, my success, my joy, none of it came from him. When I gave my speech, I said, "Sometimes betrayal is not the end of your story. It's the plot twist that saves it." That night, I returned to my shop, turned off the lights, and stood among the flowers. I placed my grandmother's photo on the counter and whispered, "You were right, Grandma. The world was cruel, but I learned to bloom again." And as the scent of roses filled the air, I realized the sweetest revenge wasn't making him suffer. It was living beautifully without him.